Hi, and welcome back to my channel, and I want to welcome you to day 4 of our 12 days of Christmas. So we're going to jump right on in. So today we're going to be talking about how do you forgive even when it feels like it's impossible. And this is a two-parter. So today I'm going to give you part 1. So forgiveness isn't something that you do for the other person. Always know that. Whether it's a spouse who was unfaithful, a parent who let you down as a child, or a friend who shared something told in confidence, we all must face the question of whether and how to forgive. Now, when I said forgiveness is not, you don't do it for the other person. You forgive for you, because if you don't, all of that stuff just weighs down on you. So forgive for you. It's not about them. And notice I said forgive, but you don't have to have a reunion with that person. So after you are wronged and the initial wave of emotion has passed, you are presented with a new challenge. Do you forgive the person? By forgiving, you let go of your grievances and judgments and allow yourself to heal. While this may sound good in theory, in practice, forgiveness can sometimes feel impossible. So let's talk about some things that forgiving someone doesn't mean. Forgiveness doesn't mean that you are pardoning or excusing what the other person did. Forgiveness doesn't mean that you need to tell the person that he or she is forgiven. You don't have to. You can forgive them here. You don't have to go and say, hey, Carol Ann, guess what? I forgive you. Forgive Carol Ann in here. Forgiveness does not mean that you shouldn't have any more feelings about the situation. Forgiveness doesn't mean that there is nothing further to work out in the relationship or that everything is okay now. Forgiveness does not mean you should forget the incident ever happened. Forgiveness does not mean you have to continue to include the person in your life. Remember what I said, I can forgive you, but I don't want to have a reunion with you once you've crossed me or you've wronged me. And forgiveness isn't something you do for the other person. It's all about you. It's all about me. So by forgiving, you're accepting the reality of what has happened and finding a way to live in a state of resolution with it. This can be a gradual process, and it doesn't necessarily have to include the person you are forgiving. Forgiveness isn't something you do for the other person who wronged you. It's something that you do for you. And I just said that over and over again, right? So forgiveness is something you do for yourself, and if it can help you heal, why is it so hard? You guys, why is it so hard? So there's several reasons. You're filled with thoughts of retribution or revenge. You enjoy feeling superior. You don't know how to resolve the situation. You're addicted to the adrenaline that anger provides. You self-identify as a victim, or you're afraid that by forgiving you have to reconnect or lose your connection with the other person. These reasons not to forgive can be resolved by becoming more familiar with yourself and your thoughts and your feelings and with your boundaries and your needs. Now that you know what forgiveness is not and why it's so hard to do it, ask yourself, do I want to forgive? Forgiveness requires feeling willing to forgive. And sometimes people can wrong you and you don't have to forgive them right away, but eventually you need to. So that way you can let that foolishness go and move on. Sometimes you won't because the hurt went so deep or because the person was too abusive or expressed no regret. Do not attempt to forgive someone before you have identified, fully felt, expressed, and released your anger and your pain. If you decide you're willing to forgive, find a good place and time to be alone with your thoughts. Then try the following 4 steps to forgive even when it feels impossible. So number 1, think about the incident that angered you. Accept that it happened. Accept how you felt about it and how it made you react. In order to forgive, you need to acknowledge the reality of what occurred and how you were affected. Number 2, acknowledge the growth that you've experienced as a result of what happened. What did it make you learn about yourself or about your needs and boundaries? Not only did you survive the incident, perhaps you grew from it. Number 3, now think about the other person. I know you don't want to, but think about the other person. He or she is flawed because all human beings are flawed. He or she acted from limited beliefs and a skewed frame of reference because sometimes we all act from our limited beliefs and skewed frames of reference. When you were hurt, the other person was trying to have a need met. Do you think this need what do you think this need was, and why did the person go about it in such a hurtful way? Number 4, finally decide whether or not you want to tell the other person that you've forgiven him or her. You don't have to. So if you decide not to express forgiveness directly, then do it on your own time. Say the words, I forgive you, aloud, then add as much explanation as you feel it is merited. Okay? Forgiveness puts the final seal on what happened that hurt you. You will still remember what happened, but you will no longer be bound by it. Having worked through the feelings and learned what you need to do to strengthen your boundaries or get your needs met, you are better able to take care of yourself in the future. Forgiving the other person is a wonderful way to honor yourself. It affirms to the universe that you deserve to be happy, and you deserve to be happy. Okay? So let's do a quick recap, and I promise I'll let you be. So we talked about how do you forgive even when it feels impossible. And so the tips that I gave you were to, number one, think about the incident that angered you. Number two, acknowledge the growth you've experienced as a result of what happened. Number three, now think about the other person. You may not want to, but think about the other person. Because when someone wrongs you, it's because they had a need that need to be met, and at that particular moment all they cared about was their need. They didn't care about you or what you needed. So think about them and then move on. Don't linger there because somebody may get hurt. Number four, finally decide whether or not you want to tell the other person that you have forgiven him or her. Again, you do not have to. You are not required to do that. I have forgiven people and I never told them that I forgave them because, to be honest with you, although I forgave them, I didn't want to be in their presence because they may have gotten hurt. So I just forgave them and moved on with my life. Didn't need to tell them at all. So that's all I have for today. Thank you so much to my new subscribers. Thank you so much for those of you that continue to support me in all that I do. I love you guys to the moon and back, and I look forward to sharing day 5 with you. Until then, take care.